Subscribe to Keep It Terrifying for creepy tales, horror, and nightmares you won't forget. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and keep it terrifying.
Part 1, The Wealth of Nothing. Michigan woke up to the golden light of early morning spilling through the velvet curtains of her expansive bedroom. The sound of her vintage phone buzzed beside her, its flashing screen a testament to a life where she never had to chase anything, people, opportunity, or even happiness. Everything came to her, like clockwork. She reached out lazily, tapping the screen to silence the notifications, most of them from her father's business associates, wondering why the daughter of a billionaire was so often unreachable. She rubbed her eyes, staring blankly at the ceiling of her multi-million-dollar mansion. Her father's company, one of the largest tech firms in the world, was worth billions, and yet Michigan felt emptier with each passing day. She had all the luxuries life could offer, but she had no real purpose. No job, no friends she could trust, and no passion to chase. Her life, despite its outward perfection, was hollow. The gambling had started as a harmless distraction. At first, it was just the occasional poker night, or betting on sports matches, but as the years went by, it became her only source of excitement. Her morning routine. She pulled herself out of bed and wandered to the kitchen. A string of texts from an unfamiliar number lit up her phone. "Did you win again? You're too good at this. Could you lend me more money? I'm so close to doubling it." It was from the group of online gamblers she'd found, a dangerous web of strangers who promised riches and success through secretive, shady gambling tactics. Michigan, with her disregard for real work, was an easy mark for them. They fed her addiction like vultures circling a weakened prey. "Ugh," she muttered under her breath, scrolling through the messages. There was a new bet waiting for her, an obscure bet on a high-stakes casino game. Her pulse quickened as the thought of easy money clouded her judgment. "Let's go big today. I'll bet 500K. Easy win." Before she could stop herself, the money transfer was made, the bet placed. It felt thrilling for a moment, like a rush she could never experience from anything else in her life. But deep down, Michigan knew that all this was wrong. She could feel it in her bones, a gnawing unease she couldn't escape. And then, for the first time in a while, her father's voice echoed in her mind, "Money isn't everything, Michigan. There's a world outside of this bubble you're living in." Her father's words echoed like a dull thud, but they faded quickly. She was too far gone in her own world. No one could reach her. Her phone buzzed again. The first call from an unknown source. Michigan grabbed the phone, swiping the screen. The message was simple, it started. "Do you feel it?" She frowned and typed back, "Who is this?" The response came immediately, "Does it matter? There's something out there, something spreading. You don't feel it? The change?" At first, Michigan thought it was just one of the strange, cryptic messages from the gamblers. They were all weirdly obsessed with strange, vague texts, almost like they were trying to get into her head. She shook her head. Probably just some bizarre marketing gimmick to get her attention. She ignored it, dismissing the message as nonsense. But as the morning wore on, the sensation lingered, a vague sense of discomfort she couldn't explain. It was as though the air around her was thicker, her skin prickling with unease. She'd never experienced this before. Something felt wrong. Her phone buzzed again, and she looked at it, now uncertain whether she should even answer. But curiosity won out, and she tapped the message open. "The virus is already here, Michigan. You're already infected." Her heart skipped a beat. The message wasn't signed, but its words hit her like a ton of bricks. Infected? What the hell was going on? She quickly typed, "What are you talking about? Who is this?" The response came swiftly. "The virus doesn't care who you are. It's not something you can see or hear, but it's already spreading through you, Michigan. Can you feel it?" Michigan stared at the message for a long moment. Her thoughts raced, bouncing from one idea to the next. Was this some kind of scam? Some sick joke? Or was it real? The tension builds. For the rest of the morning, she couldn't shake the odd feeling. She checked her reflection in the mirror, expecting to see something different. But everything looked normal. Still, the discomfort gnawed at her. She checked the news, hoping for some kind of explanation, but there was nothing. Not even a hint of an outbreak or a new virus. She checked her phone again, more strange, cryptic messages, all from the same unknown number. It's already too late to turn back. If you keep ignoring the symptoms, it will spread faster. Symptoms? She thought. There were no visible signs of anything unusual. And yet, the feeling persisted. Her palms were suddenly clammy, her heart rate accelerating for no reason. Then, she received another message. Do you feel it, Michigan? The virus is here. It will corrupt everything, from the inside out. A startling realization. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. What if this wasn't just some random scam? What if this was the start of something far worse? Her thoughts raced. Was this virus really infecting people through the internet? Through the very same gambling network she had been sucked into? She slammed the phone down on the table, frustrated and overwhelmed. The thought that she might be contaminated, infected with some mysterious force, seemed absurd. And yet, the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. Her world had always been ruled by money and empty distractions. She had been drowning in a toxic cycle, feeding into it every day. Maybe this virus wasn't something that existed in a lab or in a vial, it was something that had always been there, something that infected people like her long before she even realized. Was this the price she was paying for her indifference? For her carelessness? She had no idea, but she couldn't ignore it any longer. The virus begins to spread. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her chest, a tightness that hadn't been there before. She gasped and put her hand over her heart, feeling the pressure build. Panic surged through her. What was happening? The feeling intensified, spreading down her limbs, as though something was crawling beneath her skin. The sensation was too intense to ignore now. She could feel herself slipping into an unfamiliar territory, her body betraying her. The virus, the message had been right. Something was happening to her. Her breath quickened, and she staggered towards the bathroom, searching for any sign of physical change. Her reflection in the mirror looked the same, but the tightness in her chest didn't go away. She couldn't deny it any longer. The virus had arrived. And it wasn't just a physical infection. It was in her mind, twisting everything she had ever believed, everything she had ever known. Part 2, The Infection Deepens. Michigan stumbled back from the mirror, her breath shallow, her head spinning. What was happening? The messages, the strange sensations, everything felt like it was slipping through her fingers. For the first time in her life, she felt powerless. She grabbed her phone again, frantically searching for answers, anything to explain the tightening pressure in her chest. The screen was filled with messages from the unknown number, each one more cryptic than the last. It's happening. You're starting to feel it now. The virus is inside you. Soon, it will be inside everyone. You were warned. But you chose the game. Her mind raced, her thoughts colliding with the relentless pounding in her head. The game. Was that what this was? Some twisted consequence of her own reckless behavior? She couldn't even remember the last time she had taken her life seriously. All those late nights gambling online, throwing money at anything that promised easy wins. The money had come easy, but now, as she looked back, she wondered if it had all been a distraction. A way to numb herself from a life she wasn't prepared to live. The pressure in her chest surged again. Her fingers shook as she clutched the phone, the screen now flashing with a new message: You're not alone, Michigan. There are others, all over the world, who feel it too. And they're starting to change. Michigan felt her throat tighten. She couldn't think. She couldn't breathe. It felt like the walls were closing in on her, the virus, whatever it was, spreading like a shadow across her life, infecting everything it touched. And she was powerless to stop it. A message from an old friend. Just as her anxiety reached its peak, her phone buzzed with a call. It was from a name she hadn't seen in years, Lena. Lena had been one of Michigan's few friends when she was younger, back before the gambling took over her life. They'd met in high school, when Michigan was still searching for something real, something to fill the void. Lena had been different from everyone else, grounded, sharp, and real. But somewhere along the way, Michigan had lost touch with her, too focused on her own distractions to keep up any kind of meaningful relationship. Now, here Lena was, calling her, as though she had known that Michigan needed help. Michigan hesitated for a moment before answering. "Lena?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Michigan, what's going on? Are you okay?" Lena's voice was urgent, sharp, cutting through Michigan's panic like a lifeline. Michigan swallowed hard, trying to steady herself. I don't know. Something's happening. Something's wrong with me. I can't explain it." Lena didn't wait for more explanation. "I've been trying to reach you for days. We need to talk. The virus, Michigan, it's real. And it's already spreading." Michigan's stomach twisted. "You know about it? The virus?" "Yes. I've been tracking it, trying to warn people. It's not a physical virus, not like what we've seen before. It's a psychological infection, and it's spreading faster than anyone expected. It's coming for the people like you, people who have spent too much time in isolation, too much time in their own worlds, disconnected from everything else." Michigan's heart thudded in her chest. Lena's words were too close to what she had been feeling. She could feel herself spiraling, the weight of the words sinking into her bones. "What do I do? What can I do?" Lena was quiet for a moment, then answered, "You need to get out of there, Michigan. You need to break free from whatever's holding you. The virus feeds on complacency. It thrives on distractions, on people who refuse to confront their own emptiness." Michigan closed her eyes, her head spinning. Complacency. That word hit her like a ton of bricks. She had been so deep in her own bubble, in her own need for excitement and validation, that she had ignored everything around her. She had ignored the emptiness growing inside of her, pretending it didn't exist. I don't know if I can," she whispered. "I don't know if I can fight it." Lena's voice softened. "You don't have to fight it alone, Michigan. But you have to start somewhere. You have to take the first step. The moment of change." As Lena continued speaking, Michigan felt her body begin to tremble. The pressure in her chest intensified, and she gasped, clutching her heart as the tightness grew unbearable. She could hear Lena's voice, but it was muffled, as though coming from a distance. "Michigan?" Lena's voice cracked through the haze of panic. "Michigan, are you there? Are you okay?" But Michigan couldn't respond. Her vision blurred as she dropped to her knees, the room spinning around her. Something was happening, something beyond her control. The virus, if it was even real, was inside her, and it was taking hold of her mind and body. Then, in the blur of pain, her phone slipped from her hand, crashing to the floor with a clatter. The last thing she heard was Lena's voice, desperate and distant, "Michigan, don't let it win. Don't let it take you." And then everything went dark. The awakening. When Michigan awoke, it was to an unfamiliar silence. She wasn't in her bedroom anymore, or even in her mansion. The air smelled different, strange, metallic. Her head felt heavy, like something had been weighing on her thoughts, suffocating them. She tried to sit up but was immediately struck by dizziness. She looked around, her surroundings unfamiliar. She was lying on a cold, concrete floor in what appeared to be some kind of underground room. The walls were cracked, the air stale. It was nothing like the luxury she had grown up with. But what caught her attention most was the figure standing at the far end of the room, watching her. The figure was cloaked in shadow, its features obscured. And yet, something about the presence felt familiar. The figure stepped forward, the silence broken only by the soft echo of footsteps. As it approached, Michigan's mind raced, her pulse quickening. But before she could speak, the figure spoke first. "We've been waiting for you, Michigan." Part 3, The Descent into the Virus. Michigan's head was still spinning as she tried to make sense of what was happening. The figure before her, this mysterious person, seemed to emerge from the shadows with a sense of inevitability. She wanted to scream, to run, but the weight of her exhaustion, both mental and physical, held her in place. Her body felt like lead, the remnants of whatever had taken hold of her still lingering in every fiber of her being. "You've already been touched by it, haven't you?" The figure's voice was calm, almost soothing, as though it had spoken these words countless times before. "Touched by what?" Michigan croaked, struggling to sit up further. Her throat was dry, her voice weak, but there was a note of defiance in it. She wasn't sure why, but she hated the feeling of helplessness, of being so utterly powerless. "The virus," the figure answered, stepping closer, its face still shrouded in shadow. "It's not just a disease. It's a force. It spreads through apathy, through isolation. It finds those who are most disconnected from the world around them. And you, Michigan, you've been its perfect host." The words were like ice-cold water splashing across her mind. The virus, again. The pressure in her chest began to return, and Michigan struggled to suppress the rising panic in her throat. "What do you mean, host?" Her voice wavered. I'm not sick. There's nothing wrong with me. I was just, she didn't know how to finish the sentence. Gambling? Spending my father's money? Living in a bubble? It felt so trivial now, so far removed from the reality of what was happening to her. "You are exactly what it wanted," the figure said, almost pityingly. "Everything you've built, everything you've relied on, was the perfect breeding ground. Your wealth, your isolation, your addiction to distraction, it all made you a vessel for what's coming." Michigan stared at the shadow, her heart racing. "What's coming?" The figure's form shifted slightly, its presence suddenly more intense, as though it were towering over her despite the fact that she was seated on the ground. "You'll see soon enough. It's already too late to turn back. But there's still time to understand." For the first time, Michigan noticed something strange about the figure. Its voice, calm, almost hypnotic, had a quality to it that wasn't quite human. It resonated in a way that felt unnatural, almost like the very air itself had changed. But the more she focused on it, the more something gnawed at her. This was real. This was happening. The very nature of her existence was being questioned. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing the silhouette of a man, tall, but pale, his features sharp and almost otherworldly. His eyes were unervingly dark, like endless voids. And there was something about him that Michigan couldn't quite put her finger on. Something too familiar. The man's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. "Do you recognize me yet?" he asked, his voice now much softer. Michigan's breath caught in her throat. She knew this man. Or at least, she used to. His face, so hauntingly familiar now, was someone from her past. Someone she thought she'd buried deep within her mind, locked away in a part of herself she had long since abandoned. "Lena," she whispered, her voice trembling. The man's smile grew. "Lena, yes. But not in the way you remember. Lena was a part of me. A small part, at least. The virus doesn't have a name, Michigan. It doesn't have a face. But he paused, I chose her. She was the perfect vessel to begin the transformation." Michigan's mind reeled. "Transformation? Yes," the man, Lena, said with a slow, deliberate nod. "You've been infected for much longer than you realize. Longer than even Lena could have known. You see, the virus doesn't just spread through bodies. It spreads through minds. Through emotions. Through actions. And in your case, it fed on your addiction, your apathy, your desire to escape from a world you refuse to engage with. That's why you feel it now. Why you can't breathe, can't think straight. It's inside you, Michigan. Michigan's stomach churned as she looked down at her trembling hands. She didn't want to believe it, didn't want to accept what was happening, but every nerve in her body screamed that this was real. The suffocating weight, the invasive thoughts, the strange sensation of being pulled in all directions, it was all connected. So, what now? Michigan whispered, barely able to speak over the nausea rising in her throat. Am I going to die? Is this how it ends? No, the man replied, shaking his head with a cruel amusement. You're not going to die. You're going to change. The word sent a chill through her. Change? Into what? Lena stepped closer, his face now clearly visible, though Michigan still couldn't shake the sense of wrongness that came with his presence. He looked exactly like the Lena she had known, a friend, a person who had once tried to guide her out of her self-destructive cycle. But now, there was nothing human about him. You were a prime candidate, Michigan. And I can see it in your eyes now. You're starting to understand. He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. You are becoming one of us. Before Michigan could react, the man reached out, his cold fingers touching her temple. A surge of images and sensations flooded her mind, images of people like her, trapped in their own worlds of excess and escape. Faces twisted in terror, eyes wide with panic, the virus crawling through their veins, taking control, spreading like a plague. She saw herself, too. Gambling, numb to the world around her, searching for meaning in fleeting pleasures and shallow victories. A hollow life built on a crumbling foundation. Lena stepped back, watching her, as though waiting for her to absorb the full impact of what she had just witnessed. You see? He asked quietly. It's already inside you. And soon, it will be inside everyone. Michigan's heart hammered in her chest. She had always thought her wealth, her status, and her disconnected life made her untouchable. But now, as she sat on the cold concrete floor, her mind whirling, she realized that she had been wrong. The virus didn't care about money, didn't care about fame. It fed on the very thing that made people like her vulnerable, their desire to escape, to not face their reality. You have to fight it, she whispered to herself, her breath ragged. I have to fight it. But Lena only smiled. It's too late to fight it, Michigan. You've already made your choice. The virus will spread through you, and soon, you'll be just like the others. You'll be part of something much larger than yourself. His words settled over her like a death sentence. As the darkness closed in around her, Michigan could feel it, the virus, the force, consuming everything in her mind. Her breath hitched, her hands shaking violently. The world around her seemed to dissolve, the edges of reality blurring into something grotesque. Lena's voice echoed in her ears. You wanted excitement, didn't you, Michigan? You wanted to feel something. But this is what you've chosen. This is what you've become. And as she closed her eyes, her last thought was that she might never escape the virus that had already consumed her from the inside out. Part 4, The World in Decay. The darkness was all-encompassing. Michigan felt like she was floating, adrift in an endless void where nothing existed except for the suffocating weight of her own thoughts. There was no sound, no sensation, only the overwhelming pressure of something cold and alien pressing against her mind. But then, slowly, ever so slowly, she began to feel the world around her again. It was as though the virus was seeping deeper into her, unraveling the walls she had so carefully built to protect herself. Her mind, once a fortress of isolation and indulgence, was now being torn apart by invisible forces. Michigan gasped as she suddenly found herself back in the concrete room, her body trembling uncontrollably. She clutched at her head, feeling a sharp pain as though something was trying to break free from inside of her. You're awake, came Lena's voice, smooth and unhurried, like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She lifted her eyes to find him standing in front of her, calm and unshaken, his face still the same, too familiar, yet somehow wrong. The shadows behind him seemed to warp, flickering like the flames of a dying fire. What did you do to me? Michigan rasped, her voice hoarse from the panic still gripping her chest. You did this to yourself, Michigan, Lena replied, his tone almost too patient. I only showed you the truth. The virus doesn't force itself into you. It only finds what's already there and accelerates it. It finds the parts of you that are weakest, the places you've neglected. And you, Michigan, you were already a perfect candidate. Her heart pounded in her ears, the pressure in her chest tightening. No, she whispered, the reality of what he was saying beginning to seep through her fog of denial. I'm not like them. I'm not like you. Lena chuckled softly, his voice carrying a tone of finality. You already are, Michigan. You're already changing. The room around her seemed to pulse with a faint hum. The walls, once cracked and empty, now seemed alive with a strange, organic energy. It was as if the virus was not just inside her, but everywhere, infecting everything it touched. Michigan's body trembled again as the tightness in her chest grew unbearable. She felt herself being pulled in multiple directions, her mind fighting to hold on to the fragments of her former life. She wanted to scream, to tear herself free from the suffocating grip of this force. But the more she tried, the more it overwhelmed her. Why are you doing this? She gasped, struggling to hold on to her thoughts. Why me? Why anyone?